Yes. All right, we are live up in this piece right now. We're gonna, before I give my real opening and stuff like that and all that, we're gonna let people gather up because I messed up the time. It's not really my fault. It's more YouTube's fault. It's YouTube. It wasn't me. I put the time in there perfectly, and somehow by me putting the time in there perfectly, it still messed up the time and had it at different times. So we're gonna let people trickle up in here before we really get the big intro going on. And I apologize if you came earlier at 10 o'clock or whenever it was set up, thinking that I was starting that early in the morning. I hope that if you see something 10 a.m., it's not Teflon in your cereal. I've never done a Teflon cereal bowl stream. If you want to eat some cereal, some Captain Crunch, Frosted Flakes, I'm a Honeycombs man. I don't know what you are. With the Don Tony Teflon, then, let's talk about it. But this was not meant for that at this particular time. But I'll give a quick introduction of my guests. Let them introduce themselves. I will say their name and then they'll talk to you. But first, this is a small council. We are here, and I am joined by two small council members with me, back from over a year hiatus of screaming. She is here, the one, the only T baby.
Hey, everybody. I'm so excited to be here. And it's been a minute, so I'm rusty, but hopefully it's like riding a bike and then I'll just get right back into it. But I'm excited to talk about White Walkers. Isn't that what we're talking about?
Yes, yes, indeed.
Yes, I'm excited because I like weird shit.
And also we're joined by other small council member, the one, the only Charlie in Westeros.
Hey folks, as always, Charlie Westeros here, back from the dead, just like Jon Snow. And I gotta tip my hat off to Tony, as always, because just like the Targaryens, he keeps the fire alive when, the rest of the Game of Thrones YouTube community is kind of going through the long night without any TV show, without any, sixth book. So thank you, Tony, for keeping the flame alive for us small council members, especially because without you, I don't know if there'd be anyone around to greet us when we return.
Now you know
Yep.
that. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I am always here, because I know, life happens and it's hard. Just like to keep going. People got jobs and lives and children and studies and college and everything, so they don't have enough time to get out there. But I try to keep it pumping to keep the small council's name out there. What up to the people, the hit squad up in the chat? What up to LMR, Living My Rhapsody? What up to Joanna K? What up to Chrissy? What up to everybody out here right now that came back? Again, I apologize if you all came earlier. I had messed up the YouTube messed up the time. It was not my fault. YouTube put the time early. What up to my man Kevin Wilson up in this piece? And we are definitely talking about the White Walkers. What up to my man Tony V? He says happy birthday. Thank you for the birthday love. What up to Thrones Volume? Cheer. Yes, indeed. We are up in here. We up here. What up, Grosh Comics? What up to you? What up, Lord Flacco? What up to Killermonger, the Rebel? What up to everybody up in this piece? What up to Angelina? Hi. Show your love. Hit that thumbs up. Let other people know we're out here because we messed up the time. YouTube messed up the time. Thank you for that birthday shout out, Ricky Hunt. I appreciate that. What a thank you for the birthday shout out, Blackfire, Song of Hype. What up to you? Thank you for the birthday shout out. All right, we are gonna pump this up because we got a couple people up in here right now. So let's get this started. As people know, this is all about the Night's King and the White Walkers. So we're gonna delve into what we think is going to happen to the Night's King this season. This is obviously he's the big bad. You people want to say Cersei Lannister may be the end game villain. I hope not. I think it has to be end with a battle with the Night's King. I do believe he's going to make it to King's Landing, but we're going to talk about that. But dealing with the Night's King first. First, let's go through the original origin of the Night's King that we see. But before we do that, do you think that the person that we seen being turned up against a tree into the White Walker, do y'all think that was the Night's King?
In the show, I think that's the original Night's King. In the books, I don't think that. I think he's dead, and there's a new one coming up. But not in the show. It seems like because it makes. I think it's the same actor too, right?
Yeah, I do believe it's the same too.
So I don't know if it's just because he was the same actor, but it seemed like that's the same guy.
That's Charlie.
Yeah, I'm inclined to agree with T on that. In the show, we got 6 episodes left. It'd be too complicated, I think, to really expand on the Night King's origin story. I think that's a kind of plot that would be better left for like the prequel series, for example. So I think, as far as Game of Thrones is concerned, we're just gonna, at the very least, be left to believe that that original guy that was transformed to the Night's King is the Night's King. As far as the books are concerned, I have not given it much thought at all, but I wouldn't be surprised if there even wasn't a Night's King in the sense that we see him in the TV show. That is, a Night's King other than the one that existed at the Wall with the Night's Queen many thousands of years ago. But yeah, in terms of the show, I'm pretty sure the guy we think is the Night's King is the Night's King.
Yeah, so if the guy in the show was the Night's King, we know in the books that's not the origin of the Night's King. Now, the origin in the books of the Night's King is that he was the 13th Lord Commander. He is most likely he was Stark. Now, he seemed to be a regular guy, a Stark guy who was manning the wall, the Lord Commander, and then he ran into this female White Walker. Now, we see in the show that it shows them turn this man into the Night's King. But it seems like from the books that this female is what turned this human being into the Night's King himself. So it said when he gave her his seed, he gave her a soul. And then after this is when he declared himself Night's King and her his queen. So do you think that we will see that maybe in the prequels, as you said, this other origin of the Night's King? We see that there's a casting of Emily Blunt from the prequel, and she looks maybe kind of Night Queenish, if anything could be like that. So, do you think that we will see the Night's Queen origin in the prequel? Because we're definitely not going to see it in this show.
See, that's hard. I think it would make sense for us to see it because you don't see it. Like it's better as a mystery in Game of Thrones, but to dive deeper into it or to see like certain flashbacks, like the one in Bran's vision in the books, where he sees like some type of ice queen or something like that in his green dreams. I might be mixing it up, y'all. Like I said, I'm rusty on the books, but I could see them doing that. It would make sense for them to do that. I would be a little disappointed, I think, if they didn't. Like, give us a little bit more that what the show couldn't do.
Yeah, because people are acting like they want the Night's Queen, and people are saying, oh, and they think the Night's Queen, like, oh, Daenerys is going to be the next Night's Queen, or Melisandre is going to be the next Night's Queen, or something like that. They're putting it out there. But if they're not, if that's the Night's King in the show, I don't know if they're going to do the Night's Queen this season in the show because we've seen the Night's Queen is who made the Night's King. It's like, I don't know, some reverse Adam and Eve type situation. But she was able to transform him. You know what I mean? She was more like bait. It seemed like the children of the forest created her. I wonder why they didn't do it that way and why they didn't prefer not to do that in the show and have him. Maybe, I don't know, it's a women's right thing. I don't know, because it seemed like she was the one, they captured the women and made her into this Night's Queen. And then she seduced this man, or he's seen her and just couldn't resist him. So I don't know if it's actual seduction. I don't know what's going on there. It's just a horny dude. What do you think, Charlie?
Yeah, you bring up some great thoughts there, Tony. As far as the Night's Queen is concerned, well, I'll start with this. I think that if they include the Night's Queen in the show at all, it'll be in the prequel series. I also think that if they include her, they'll have to either change up the story in some way, because of course in the books the Night's King that we know of, the Night's Queen, it happens after the Long Night, or at least a few years after the Long Night. as you said, it was like the 13th Lord Commander, so quite a bit of time has passed already when the first onslaught of the White Walkers were defeated. But I like kind of what you're getting at there, because, you know, in the show we're kind of led to believe that the Night's King was created by the Children of the Forest, almost like a kind of weapon to prevent their I guess a genocide against them by the humans. But they don't exactly go into how that weapon, you know, kind of lost control or began attacking humans and Children of the Forest alike. It doesn't really get into much behind their psychology, if you will. I think it would be really interesting, especially in the context of a prequel series, if, you know, we see this creation of the first Night's King, and either this other creature known as the Night's Queen, like you call her, either she's an entirely different entity or she's a female human with magical powers, something. It would be interesting if the first Night King encounters this, you know, female being, deity, whatever you want to call it, and it's that person, it's she who kind of feeds him the knowledge or some form of free will, which is what causes him to then go on this onslaught of all living beings. It'd be kind of cool, a cool twist if, you know, in a sort of reversal, or in a partial tribute to, you know, the Adam and Eve eating from the fruit of knowledge. If, you know, she passes him the fruit of knowledge and allows the Night's King to gain self-awareness and to you know, think for himself, so to speak, and fight alongside her.
I agree with you, Troy. I think it's a much better story than just some guy being strapped to a tree and stabbed in the chest with some obsidian. You know, I think that the Night's Queen attracting this guy, and this guy who can't resist her, and he falls in love with her or whatever, and then she takes it, does this thing to him and turns him to the Night's King. I think that's a better story. I think we should have seen that. I would have rather seen that than this man strapped to the tree. Now, maybe it was the woman that was initially strapped to the tree, and maybe it was easier for the Children of the Forest to capture a woman, you know, because you know, the Children of the Forest, we never see like a male version of them in the show, and we know there were men out there, but we never see any of them. They don't show them in the show or anything like that. So we would assume that maybe one of these men, Children of the Forest, or a couple of them could have captured a man or something, but maybe it was easier for them to capture a woman, and that's why they used the woman to seduce this. Or specifically, it seemed like they targeted the Lord Commander of the Night's Watch. Like they went after him because this Night's Queen appeared beyond the wall. Like she wasn't over here in Winterfell or over there. She was on the other side of the wall. So the Children of the Forest were on the other side of the wall. What the hell were the Children of the Forest doing on the other side of the wall over there? So, and what is this woman, this Night's Queen? Is this Night's Queen a wildling woman? I would think that's quite possibly that she would have to be, right, T? Because she's there on the other side of the wall.
Yeah, but then you also have to think that something had to go wrong if you only seen one like white female. You don't see like any other one. So something, even though it sounds like it would be easier to capture a female, for some reason something had to go wrong for it to only be one, or that's the only one we really hear about.
Or maybe female White Walkers are just, you know, harder to control. Who knows? Maybe there's something to them that doesn't allow them to you know, fulfill their mission. It is. I do agree with Tony on one thing, though. I do agree with Tony on one thing, though. I think it's too easy, and it would be unfortunate if they just go from White Walker created by Children of the Forest stabbing it through the chest to White Walkers going crazy and killing everything. There's something missing between step A and C. You know what I mean? So I'm inclined to agree with Tony on that.
Yeah, it's just, you know, the way they set it up. It's like, okay, we have this guy, we captured this guy, we trapped him to the tree, we have this dagger, we shove it in his chest, his eyes turn blue, and now this man just wants to kill humanity. You know, so that just seems a little weird to me. So if it's something like, as George R. R. Martin had wrote it, that there's some mystical creature out here, this woman. Now, people in the chat have to realize, just in case they don't, that, you know, the White Walkers don't look like the way they look in the show from the books. In the books, they look like Valyrians. They're beautiful. They're angelic. That's what the way they say it. So that's how a man could be attracted to this Ice Queen woman. And he had to have her. And it seems like another thing saying that it's good possibility that the Night's Queen was a wildling woman is that the Stark man who captured her, if we all agree that it's a Stark, we're gonna go around and ask that. It seems that he captured her the wildling way. Like
Which
he
means
went
he
after.
married her.
What happened?
Which means he basically married her. That's like their custom, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah. Isn't that so, Charlie? That's the way the
Yeah.
wildlings get married. They stalk their prey and grab them up.
Traditionally, yeah, they capture
Mm-hmm.
their wives, for them to become the other or belong to the other person. At least that's what Ygritte seems to explain to us in the
Yep.
book and the show.
Yeah.
All right, so we have this woman that's the Night's Queen that comes out there and she's flashing. I don't know if she's flashing ass or titties. I don't know what she's doing. She's got to be. She could be twerking out there. You know, I don't know. But she's
gotta do what you gotta do.
Listen. The wall is big, right? And if he could spot this ass from the top of that goddamn wall, this has got to be a mighty fine ass, right? A mighty fine. This ass got it because he could see other wildling chicks and everything else, but this ass he's seen it from the top of the motherfucking wall, and he had to have it. And as T Baby and as Charlie has just said, not only did he have to have her, he married her. He didn't just want her for one night stand. Wham bam, thank you, man. He married this chick. He wanted this for the long haul. He put the ring on it. Right? He did it. He threw the ring on it, the ice ring. And then from that, he goes to calling himself the Night's King. Now, as Charlie said, I think it would be a great, more interesting thing that this woman told him things to make him but want to go this route the way that he did. And we also have to say that, you know, they was up in there for a very long time ruling.
Like 13 years, right?
13 years,
yeah, indeed, right. So it wasn't like
coming back. It's coming back.
You got it, T.
Ain't no doubt about it. You definitely got it. And so they reigning here for 13 goddamn years, and ain't nobody doing nothing about this. Nothing at all. So, and another thing, like I said, I said before, I think that the wall is just fake propaganda. I think the wall doesn't exist. We know that the Night Fort is the only castle that has its structures carved directly inside of the wall, right? The steps are inside the wall. The apartments where they're living, I guess, are inside of the wall itself. And this chick was in that motherfucker for 13 years. And nothing happened to her. Nothing happened to him. For 13 years, they was up in there. So,
which makes me think he is a Stark, and that's why they took so long.
Which would make sense. So we have a wildling woman that was the Night's Queen that we could. All right, so let's go around the horn. So, Charlie, do you think the Night's Queen, from what we're talking about here, is a good possibility of being? In the chat, please answer it too. Do you think that the Night's Queen was a wildling woman? Charlie, what do you think?
Man, I think in reality, as far as they're going to present it in the prequel series, if they do, I think she's a wildling woman who has some kind of. She's not just a normal wildling woman. She has something to her, like a Melisandre type character. You know what I mean? She has something magical about her. I think, you know, if they for whatever reason talk about her in the current Game of Thrones series, they'll mention her as being like a god or some kind of supernatural creature. Well, kind of like they did in the book series, really, because they talk about the Night's Queen as this like pale being. So, short answer is, yeah, I think so. Wildling woman.
All right, T. What are you thinking? Wildling woman or some other type of woman?
I do think that she's a wildling, but I never thought about her being someone like how Melisandre was. And I can definitely see that, especially the fact that it seems like she seduced him to leave his watch to come with her and chase her and do the whole thing. So, yeah, I'm going to agree with Charlie on that one.
It's the fact that the children of the forest are on the other side of the wall. I don't know how much access they would have to someone that is like that. You know, I think that the only women that they possibly could have at this particular time could be some type of wildling woman. Now, there are wildling women out there that are like the Starks, basically, right? Because the Stark line died down and they had no true bloodline left. And it wasn't until Bael the Bard's son was the one who took it over, and he's a wildling. So essentially, that line from Bael the Bard is the Stark line known as the Stark line, not the true Stark line, but the Stark line that's existing right now, because he's the one who truly carried it on. So it could be a situation that it's Bael the Bard type ancestors with some Stark blood in there, or Bael the Bard blood that is now considered Stark blood, if you understand what I'm saying. Back and forth there. So I'm gonna say I'm with it. She most likely could have been a wildling, but it's very tricky. It's hard. It's hard to tell exactly, and I hope we do get an explanation for that in the prequels. Though I think they should have did it in the show, but the fact that they didn't do it in the show is the reason why I don't think we are going to see the Night's Queen in Game of Thrones season 8. I don't think we're going to go that route. I think we're just going to see the Night's King in it. But is it possible to get a motive from the Night's King without having the Night's Queen in it? What do you think about that, Charles?
Well, I think they might give us glimpses of a motive. I don't think, as far as Game of Thrones is considered, it is essential to have a true motive for the White Walkers, at least not a fully fleshed out motive. I think we've had so much of the story just focus in on, you know, Cersei and the struggles relating to the Iron Throne, and the White Walkers have always been kind of they've been like a background, distant threat until now, of course. So because of that, I just don't think it's a question that they would bother bringing up in the show, at least not in any deep sense. I think that's a question they would rather just leave for the prequel series, if the prequel series chooses to address it, which of course would be the perfect time to, considering, you know, the theme that the prequel series are supposed to take on. So again, short answer, don't think they're going to get into it in Game of Thrones. No.
What are you thinking, T?
I'm gonna actually disagree, because in the season, you know how they showed us how they were created. So I'm only going to talk TV related. But you notice how they showed us how they created them. It almost seemed as though it's like a weapon that got out of their hands, and now their whole thing is just to wipe out humanity, because that's what they were built for. It's like Ultron. You know how he's supposed to be built for good, but then he kind of evolved and realized that the threat was really man and tried to wipe them all out. That's how it seems like to me.
Mm-hmm. Can I just say, I agree with you on that, T. I just don't think they're going to develop beyond that general theme, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, I don't think they're going to go into too much details. One, because we don't have time for all of that. But two, they can definitely put that in the prequels. Because I think all of that stuff towards the White Walkers will come towards the end of the season. I think they'll slowly build us up to it, make us like these people. But, you know, we see this threat in a different perspective, if that makes sense. I think it does.
No, it does. It makes a lot of sense. I think that's kind of they missed out a little bit by it, because we had the time to do it, and the fact that they're rushing through it, that probably we're not going to get the full story. And I think, you know, we're going to get some type of story with the Night's King. We have to get an ending to him. But as for a true motivation of why everything is going on with the Night's King, it's going to be a rough one. I mean, I am on the train, the James Johnson train, of thinking that Bran Stark is the Night's King, and he's stuck in there, and that's what's going on. No, T, baby.
No, I hate that theory.
I know. See,
I
it's
don't know
so,
if I'm being biased because Bran's my favorite, but
you know what's funny, because you know we've doing this small council thing for like 4-something years, and we've heard that theory for like 4 years ago. You know what I mean? But it's just recently come back up, and that's the way I feel about like James' other theory that he came up with. That Mance Rayder is Sarotha dating them. Like, this theory just popped back up, and I'm like, oh my God, I heard that 4 years from James. I didn't like it back then. So I know exactly how you feel, but why don't you like that theory?
I think I'm just biased, to be 100% honest, because I love Bran, and I can't see Bran doing all of this and somehow destroying everything. But then again, I can kind of see it. Well, in the books, I would kind of see it, just because Bran does some things that he really shouldn't be doing, even though he doesn't know any better. But I just hate the thought of Bran trying to kill everything. Being a kinslayer, all of that just doesn't matter. Like, then you would have to tell me what got Bran that he's willing to. Like, you have to show me that.
Yeah, I think that if you're going on the Bran Stark as the Night's King situation, I think that for TV show purposes, it works. Specifically for the TV show, it works because now you have a reason that has this kid, and you have a bittersweet ending if this is really Bran and they have to take him out, or if it's a warging situation where Bran gets stuck in time, and we've seen time travel elements that Bran Stark himself has to be killed in order to truly stop the Night's King. And that would be a very bittersweet thing that I think that would work on TV. Now, when we're dealing with the books, because the Night's King is not shown yet in the books at all, I think that it's baby Sam. He is the Night's King. He will be turned into the Night's King. That's the baby that returns to the Night's King at the wall. I think it's him. But I think that doesn't play as well for the characters on TV. And I think that's why I think it was switched to Bran Stark.
They ain't have to do him like that. He's a sweet boy.
Man.
Go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead. Finish your thought.
I got a super chat right here, Southeast 01 499. Thank you so much. Salute Teflon. Had to go hard on my crew. They did not want to give Dan Daddy you respect. No doubt about it. We got to go hard on people that not knowing who Granddaddy IU is, one of the greatest rappers of all time. Go ahead, Charlie.
I was going to ask you, because based off of what you're saying, do you think, and obviously I'm talking a bit more books here, do you think baby Sam is what is to the Night's King what Bran is to Bloodraven, in the sense that there's like this continuing chain of Night's King that keeps getting passed on to the next person? So I got hints of that when you were just speaking now.
I think that Bloodraven is Craster's father.
What? Well, okay.
You heard me say that in a video years ago.
Yeah, I back to me though.
I think Bloodraven is Craster's father. He's the one, and that's why he has the blood of the Targaryen is inside of this baby monster. I think that the key, the point that points to this baby being turned to the Night's King is if you look at Jon Snow, he tried to be slick. He's like, oh my God, Melisandre's up here at the wall. She's going to burn Mance Rayder's baby because it's got king's blood. So I'm going to be swift because I'm smart, and I'm going to send this baby off with Gilly, but I'm going to leave Monster at the wall because she's not going to want to do anything to Monster because it has no king's blood. But I think that's what's going to be his faux pas. That baby left at the wall is the true monster that he should have got rid of. That's the threat right there. That's the Night's King's baby. And I think that's the baby that gets turned into the Night's King. And I think that's why they're after him so bad. I think they will catch him and turn him up there. That's what I believe. You think it's
going to happen in the show?
No, only in the book.
No offense, but the baby's a little creepy. I don't know if it's eyes, but he gives me this thing like he's going to do some messed up stuff.
They kept him as a baby for a reason, though. You know what I mean? So there is something going on with him in the show. I'm thinking that maybe, I don't know, this may sound crazy, people, but that's how I get down. I'm thinking that maybe when the Night's King is defeated, he jumps into baby Sam's body at the end of the show. Like, and gets to live his second life out in baby Sam. You see how blue baby Sam's eyes are already. It could be a situation like that. Maybe Jon and Danny's babies gets fire eyes, and this baby gets some blue ass eyes. And that's how it ends. And we have the Song of Ice and Fire going on to the next generation or something like that. To a Night King truly isn't defeated or something like that. But there's a reason why this baby is a baby. And we definitely have to see a second life get lived out in something, right? Because we heard too much about it from the Vlad Sixskins chapter and all this second life stuff, and we see him try to attempt to do it. So that's what I think that also points to Bran being the Night's King in the show, because Vlad tried to get it done. He wasn't able to get it done. Bran would be someone who could get it done, who have enough power to get that done. So I think it could go have some type of situation go down like that when dealing with Baby Sam. But in the show, I think he could just be someone that they lived their second life out in Baby Sam, the Night's King would, which I think would be great, actually.
That would creep me out a little bit. It's
not a
like
theory I
those
ever thought
horror
about.
movies where you think it's over, but oh no, there's a sequel.
Exactly what I was thinking too. Like the ending of The Last American Horror Story. I don't know if you guys watched that show.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Right? There has to be something, it would have to be something to continue on, I would think. And because unless in the show, the way we see it go down is that it is Bran, and they have to kill him. Now, me adding to James's theory, a point that I put out, a theory I put out there, is that I think that a key point that could point to Bran being the Night's King is the Valyrian steel dagger itself. The fact that the cat's paw assassin was armed with a Valyrian steel dagger. And there's no need for him to have such an expensive dagger to kill anyone. If you really want to send an assassin to kill someone, they can do it with a butcher's knife. We see people get hacked to death with that, but this is an expensive, elaborate dagger made out of Valyrian steel. And we know that this main source of Valyrian steel's purpose in the show and the books is to kill the White Walkers. I think this was a hint saying that Bran is a Night's King, the fact that this Valyrian steel was going to kill him. And I think that it quite possibly could be the thing that has to kill Bran in the end, from that when we look at when he gives it to Arya Stark and he pauses, almost like he pauses when he hands it to her, and like almost like looks at the dagger. Like he may see that Arya could be someone that may have to stab him in the heart and kill him. Because if it went down like that, who else would be heartless? Who would be able to get that done?
No, it would be Arya. Or Sansa would send someone to do it. She would have I think, the balls to do it. But yeah, you're right. I just don't want to believe that Bran's going to die that way and that he's Night King. I'm just being stubborn at this point.
Now, what do you think, Charlie? If Bran happened to be and he had to get stabbed to get out of this, who would be the one to kill him, to take him out? Would it have to be Arya?
If it has to happen, I would be inclined to say Arya. But kind of like T-Baby, I've always had a more optimistic ending for Bran. Like, I always kind of saw him as a perfect tie-in for Game of Thrones towards the prequel show. And my thoughts on that are a little bit corny, so I'll spare you guys that.
Oh, come on, Charlie. Don't give me that.
Go for it.
No, but think about it, because we've always seen flashbacks from the eyes of Bran. So theoretically speaking, if there's a question left unanswered in Game of Thrones, he'd be the perfect person to kind of, spark a flashback to the distant past for us to kind of see the retelling of the Long Night or whatever kind of stuff goes down back then. Which is kind of what I've had envisioned for Bran, just again because there's not much time left in Game of Thrones for the TV series to end. But like you say, if he does have to be killed off because he gets stuck in the Night's King, or if he becomes the Night's King, or whatever the case may be, I do feel like Arya would be the right one to do it, just because, like you said, there is that setup from the get-go where he's almost killed by the cat's paw dagger. And of course, Arya seems to be the one who will wield that very blade. So in that sense, I do agree with you if that is the direction they take.
Yeah, and if we look at, who is that woman that I'm going to give? Oh my God, who is it? Is it not Mother Mole? Who is it? The one, the ghost of High Heart, and she runs. She runs with Arya, and when she runs into Arya, she says, she's like, "Get away from me!" Or I see all this death around you, and she calls her Dark Heart, the Dark Heart. Why would she call Arya Dark Heart? Maybe this is a reference in her that she's going to have to do something dark to someone's heart and stab her own brother in his heart, and that could be something that she sees, because she sees something in Arya that is as painful for her to witness as Summerhall. And what she's seen in Summerhall was her family members get blown up and killed. So Arya would killing her family members would mirror her seeing her family members get killed if it had to go down like that. Because maybe she doesn't realize what's going on and just sees Arya stabbing her brother, her own brother, in the chest and taking him out. Now it could go down in another way for Bran if he happens to be the Night's King. And we're just going through this real quick, and then we'll switch it over in case he's not the Night's King and go into all that. But we'll go through this. If he was going to be saved, now we've seen that it was a Valyrian steel piece of not Valyrian steel, a piece of obsidian put inside the Night's King's chest. Is it possible that maybe that has to be removed? We've seen Sam; he was able to cure grayscale, right? Now the fact that he was able to do that with olive oil and a good blade,
That
you
was
know,
so gross.
that was disgusting, though, right?
So gross.
So
You
nasty.
know, yeah, but he was able to get it done, so maybe that could go down. So what do you think about that, T? Is it possible that the Night's King will not get killed by the end of the season, but maybe the piece of whatever's in his chest will get pulled out and he could just be saved and turn back to a human being, and then all the other White Walkers knights would turn to the human beings they were too?
Well, wouldn't they be dead already? So wouldn't they just
Well,
die?
no, well, that would be the whites. I'm saying the White Walkers are
Oh,
alive, right?
right.
So if
Okay.
he lost his ability and turned back to a human, if that walked out, that his magic would die, all the dead people would just drop, and maybe the other White Walkers would just turn back to the human beings they were too.
Or it's even more sinister, they just die because he doesn't have his powers anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Could be, could be.
I mean, a lot of the White Walkers are also thousands of years old, right? Many of them were created in the Dawn Age. I mean, the Night's King seems to have been. So if they were to go back to being humans, they'd be super ancient unless their, life was put on hold, which would be weird for them because they're basically, coming from the distant past and living in the Game of Thrones present.
Well, it depends.
They wouldn't be that old because wasn't Craster's not that old for him to be giving them all the. What happened?
No, sorry. You're right in that sense because Craster's sons did go on to create White Walkers. But I would think that Craster's sons who become White Walkers wouldn't be the only White Walkers out there. Like I would imagine that a lot of the White Walkers that are around are from the first Long Night, and they just retreated with the Night's King beyond the Wall. Unless the Night's King is the only survivor from that Long Night, and then the other White Walkers have been created more recently, which is possible.
Yeah,
Sure.
I'm thinking more that the White Walkers that we've all seen is Craster's kids, every one of them that we've seen. Because I think from what, if you go on in the book, either way, in the books they say that he was killed, right, by his brother and the King Beyond the Wall when they killed him then. So he supposedly was killed, I guess, back then. So I know that's why when you have this guy being chained up to a tree, it's tricky, to say exactly how without a fuller backstory than that. To say if this guy is the actual original Night's King or if he's somebody else, but I'm gonna assume that this is a Craster's son type of people.
So that's like a reincarnated form of the original, or at least what we think is the original Night's King. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think either points more things that point into the theory of Craster being. Y'all could check out that video if you want. It's called "The White Walker's Monster." I did it a long time ago. Don the Cracker Wit and Don Willier in it with me, and I explained the whole thing. But I think more proof would be the fact that the Night's King's riding a dragon. I think that anyone that we normally see ride these dragons have some type of Valyrian blood in them. I think that the same thing would go true with the Night's King, and that's why, even though he turned into a White Walker, I still think that's just something else that points into the direction that there's some type of Valyrian blood in him.
No, I definitely see what you're getting at there, Tony, and it's a really well thought out theory. Obviously, I guess my main question is if they'd be able to work all that into the confines of the TV show. you know, bringing in the fact that Craster was a Valyrian, that White
No.
Walkers are incarnate. Yeah, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't think they will touch on that at all. I mean, I don't think they'll touch on it at all in the show of him being a. I can't see them going that route with it. It'd just be too much for them to go into the whole too many flashbacks. Because if we do get a flashback, and I'm hoping we do get a flashback, I don't think it's going to have much to do. Maybe them defeating the first Night's King of the Long Night or something like that. But I don't think it's going to have to do with anything with Bloodraven. Him as a young man going up there and shagging up some wildling woman and having Craster and all that. I don't think we're going to show that up in there. We do have a super chat again. Alex Wilson, thank you so much. It says, I heard that there will be a dragon rider versus dragon rider, with the Night's King being one fighting another dragon rider in the show. How do you like that? So how do y'all feel about that? Will we see a dragon rider versus another dragon rider? Thank you again, Alexandra Wilson for the super chat.
Yeah, of course. Like, who would not want to see a dragon fighting another dragon? Ever since I read The Dance with the Dragon, I wanted to see it. And then he's got an undead dragon at that, so we don't know how that his fire is going to affect the other normal dragons. I'm all for it. Like, the second that dragon went down, I was like, yes, I'm all for it.
I'm with you 100%. Well, I think it has to go down. I think we have to see it. You know what I mean? I can't see it not going down like that. There's no way that it cannot go down, that we see this dragon fight. And all this CGI, all this money and everything that we get, it's got to be Drogon versus the Night's King's dragon in this. And Jon Snow somehow has to be on the other dragon holding it down too. There's no other way. I could see it going down like that. What do you think, Charlie? We getting the dragon versus dragon battle or what?
Oh, hells yeah. We are getting dragon battle. And honestly, my one regret about the prequel series is the fact that it's not the Dance of the Dragons, like the historical Dance of the Dragons, because that would have had even more epic dragon fights potentially than the Game of Thrones. But I'm sure we'll get a dragon fight here. And like you said, you know, they can't not with Drogon and Rhaegal against Viserion, the Night's King. I think it would be perfect if they did that anyway.
Yeah, I think so too. We have another super chat here. Thank you, Blackfire, a song of hype. And it says, Don, what's your thoughts on why it was important for Craster to offer up his boys and no girls? He surely had enough daughters to breed with. Thank you, sir, for the super chat. And I've said this before. Everyone's saying that the White Night's King is out here. What he wants is a woman. And I said this before, Craster had billions of daughters and they never sacrificed one of them. So it can't be that he's looking for a woman. It can't be that. He had his pick of the litter right there. And he didn't want none of them. He just wanted boys. So there's something else going on here with them just wanting boys at this particular time. What do you think about that, Charlie?
Well, like I said earlier, maybe it goes back to what I said about how women can't be controlled, you know.
No, but you damn right.
maybe there's something. It could, you know, could be something to do with that. What was it? Because George R. R. Martin plays a lot with like genders in that way. I think it's in the World of Ice and Fire where he talks about how it's a complete stretch, I realize, but he talks about how some of the people of not Skagos, like the hairy men of one of those northern islands in north of Essos, how they can breed. The women of that island can breed with normal men, but the men of the island cannot reproduce with human women. Anyway, I'm digressing. My point is that George R. R. Martin seems to play a lot with gender roles, or at least with the sexes and what some genders can do and others can't. So I wouldn't be surprised if they go into that territory. But it could also be just a simple case of, you know, the Night's King trying to build up an army, and stereotypically, at least, we always see men being in the army versus women. So maybe it's something just like that, nothing more. But I'd like to think it's a bit more than that. Like maybe something to do with women when they become White Walkers having some sense of greater free will. I don't know. Honestly, don't know. Hopefully, it's something to do with that, though. What do y'all think?
It's got to be something more. What up to my man AU Pack Mule in the chat chilling with us? What up, my brother? You know, it's got to be something else. You know, it's got to be a little bit more deeper. I would hope so. If it's not, it would be very disappointing to me. So I'm really just gonna hope that it is a little bit more deeper than that, and we get something out there that is better. We got over 80 people watching right now, which is great. Please hit
Well,
that
I
thumbs
do
up
want to
button.
say something. I do
Wow.
want to say something. I think Charlie might be onto you can't control a woman because remember when what's his name? Veramir, he tried to control that woman and she was not having it and fought him out of her. It could be
Yes.
simple as that women you can't control us. It could be that simple.
Well,
I'm
I,
starting to believe that.
you know what? Now
well,
y'all making me believe Charlie's theory over here.
Because
Charlie?
it's
well.
starting to make sense.
What's
No,
what's the
it's
saying?
Charlie. It's
Valar
like
Morghulis.
it clicked.
All men must
It
die,
could be
but we are
that.
not women. We are not men. Sorry.
It, yeah, as Charlie just said, with Bala Margulis, all men must die, but you know, these women are not men. It could be
Mm,
something like this, Charlie. Charlie, I think you got something here, baby. I think something's
yep.
going on here with this right here. Because these women are unruly. We see when we look at Val, how she's
Mm,
uncontrollable, and they say the wilding way you have to track a woman down and basically claim her and grab her up in order to claim her because they're wild. These women are
yep.
crazy
That's a
and they
great point.
can't
Yeah.
do it. So it could be a situation like that. You know what I mean? It could be something that women can't be war. I mean, how many women do we see other women be warging? Maybe women can't be warged. Maybe women's brains are too strong to be warged, and only men and animals can be warged.
I mean, even look at
I
Arya
believe
from the
that.
Faceless Man. They couldn't control her. Granted, there were female faceless women, I guess, but a lot of the female characters in the TV show do seem to be of that nature where they are meant to be held down. Brienne, you know,
Indeed. Oh
Hmm.
my
Daenerys
God!
Targaryen.
Look at that in the chat. We got Lady Diligence siding up in this piece.
Hey,
Back in the building.
Hey,
she knows
Back.
it. It's hard to tame women. It is hard to tame us.
I ain't
That's
disagreeing on that shit. I'm a black man, so I was
so they might have
telling
just
you
I can't
straight
like I'm
up.
not even trying to deal with that. Just give me boys, they easier.
And
it could
I
be.
am not. I'm not. It's the truth. I ain't trying to lie about it. No doubt about it. Women ain't play no games, man. They sneaky too. Don't let them fool you. They be sneaky on stuff, boy. They be sneaky too. I ain't playing. So yeah, it could be that, Charlie. I think you need to make a whole video on this theory and jump on this because it could be a situation that the women cannot be controlled, and that's why they do not want to make the White Walker women. That's why there's only men.
You know
Men
what?
are
Challenge
simple-minded.
accepted, Tony. I'll try to do something on that. And I want to hear you guys too elaborate on that idea if you have any thoughts at some point.
Nice. That's so. What up to Lauren's Corner? She is in the building, chilling with us out
Hey.
here, and everybody else up here. We got a bunch of people here now watching us. We still over 90 people watching now, so we should get some more thumbs up if we can, so we can get even more people up in this piece. Because the
You
more
know,
you thumbs up it, the more people can find us. With you know what I mean. What up, Chris Fine? Chris Fine saying you're a big fan of mine. Thank you, homie. I really do, and truly appreciate that. What up, Jasmine B? What up to Rod? Damn it. What up to everybody out there chilling with us on this Saturday? Chilling the week after Don's birthday, still, right? It's going on, I don't know, somewhere right now. What's good, Gambino Capo? What's going on there? Oh, so dealing with the White Walkers, still dealing with the situation with the Night's King. All right, let's go a little bit into the show since we did a little bit of the background and we fleshed a little bit of that out. Let's go. Uh-oh. Who said the He-Man's Woman Hater Club? A Blackfire, song of Blackfire. That is from the Little Rascals. The He-Man's Woman Haters Club. That is a Little Rascals thing back in the building. All right, so the Night's King, we seen him go through the wall on an undead dragon. what's the first thing we're going to see the Night's King do its upcoming season? Let's start here with T Baby.
Oh God, I don't know. I think he's going to attack. What's the house closest to
The Umbers,
to
I
the
think.
wall?
Yeah, I think the Umbers.
I think they're getting attacked first. I think that's what's, and then you'll see some people escaping to warn the others, but I think they're going to get slaughtered. Like I don't think they have no competition in that. So I think that's their first move is to attack them.
Yeah, I've kind of have to agree with you on that one. What are you thinking, Charlie?
I'm inclined to agree with T Baby on that, as well as you, Tony. But I almost have a question about that, because in the TV show we've seen the White Walkers, well, the Whites especially, just swarm that wildling village in, I think it was season 5, and they go pretty fast. There are some fast creatures when you think about it. Despite earlier on they seem kind of slow. So if they were to attack Last Hearth, I almost wonder if humans would be able to outpace them to warn the rest of the people south, because it almost seems like they'd just be able to swarm across the land like a plague or something without warning. So I'm more curious to see how the show will tackle that. But obviously, logistically, it has to be Last Hearth where they're going to first attack, and they're probably going to show us that. I'm assuming in the very first episode of the next season.
I would hope so. I think they have to get the first episode off with a bang. I don't want to see a lot of fluff. I mean, I like to see the talking and the drama and the Game of Thrones of Game of Thrones. I love the Game of Throniness, if that's a word, of the Game of Thrones. Love it. I love the political intrigue. But I think in every episode, 6 episodes, there must be mass murders. Murders in every episode. There can't be no murder. It has to be not just mass murders that mean something. In every episode, someone special needs to go. Someone so I think like episode 1, you got to see Ed go. And if you got to see Dolores Ed, and he's got to think they have to die. If they make it, that's the first place they make it there, and the Night's King track them down. You need to see Dolores Ed and these guys go. They got to die. I'm sorry if people get mad about it, but we need to, I ain't going to say nothing about Tormund. If people are not familiar with the small council, it's in case you're not familiar with us. T-Baby, Tormund is T-Baby's person. That's her dude.
TV Tormund.
TV Tormund.
Tormund. You gotta say
I'm sorry.
TV Tormund.
TV Tormund is her dude. That not the book Tormund.
I'm afraid he's gonna die. They've been like secretly, oh, he's about to die. No, he's not. Oh, he almost died in the Battle of Bastards. He almost died. Actually, Castle Black, because they almost killed him then. Then he also almost died going out there to get the white. So they keep teasing it. And then at the very end, he was at Eastwatch. So ain't no telling what happened. So I'm nervous for him.
Yeah, he's kissed death many a times.
Too many.
Many a times. And it's when you kiss death that much, eventually the tongue is going to slip in there, right? There's only so many times you could kiss it without the tongue getting in there soon enough. I see we have a super chat here from Timothy Swan. He says, thank you for the super chat. It says, the show emphasized prince or princess that was promised. Can this be as simple as Danny and John's child? It would then mean they are truly in pursuit of a pregnant Danny, that they're actually after Danny, the pregnant Danny. What do you think about that, Charlie?
I've always been of the mind of, so Maester Aemon at one point talks about, there's no gender associated with the title of prince, and I don't know if it was Valyrian or what the language was, so it could easily be a woman. But I also like the idea that it could be more than one person. You know what I mean? It could be the princes, the nobles, or the royals that were promised, and not just a single person. I'd like it if it were Jon and Danny. I think everyone expects it to be Jon, and I think that's a little, I don't want to say it's cliche, but it's something we all expect, and I like to be kept on my toes a little bit. So my hope is that it's going to be like that. Yeah, that's about it. What do you think, T?
I have no idea. I'm not even gonna lie to y'all. I don't know.
I hear you. I'll jump on this then. Yes, the show did emphasize the fact that it could be prince or princesses that was promised. I don't know if that's going to be simple enough to say that's the child. I think that directly deals with the prince that is promised right there. Because to me, I think they're all three separate people: Azor Ahai, the prince that is promised, and the last hero. So I think that it's possible that Dany could be the prince that is promised, but that still wouldn't make her Azor Ahai because that's Jon Snow,
Oh, you
right?
think
So
it's three different
yeah,
things?
I think it's a good possibility that it could be three different things. If you look at the last hero could be seen as Bran Stark, or it could be seen as Sam. You could look at
Mhm.
Azor Ahai is definitely Jon Snow, and you could see the Princess Promise could be Dany, and that's what it could be. That doesn't mean that Danny still is not getting stabbed in the chest, because she's getting stabbed in the chest no matter what. Sorry, Charlie. If
Damn, what
y'all
she
are
do
not
to
familiar
you?
with small council, and just quick, Danny is Charlie's girl. My
Yep.
guy is standing. He's dead, so I have hatred for everyone. I'm after everyone now. I'm after everybody.
I was
No
gonna say,
mercy.
T, he's coming for us. I do
That's
agree with you, Tony. Though
terrible.
I think she's gonna die by the end. I don't know if she's getting stabbed, but I think she's gonna die, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's in childbirth, to be honest with you. But yeah,
Mhm.
she's dying, alas. And I think most people are dying in Game of Thrones. I wouldn't be surprised if all wildlings die off by the end of Game of Thrones, to be honest with you, which kind of
And that'd be
bittersweet because
messed up.
it'd be so messed up. They fought this long to get south of the wall. They get killed off. Well, it's like the Giants. I mean, we saw the last Giant die season 6. It's kind of
Yeah.
bittersweet in a way. In terms of what you said, Tony, I do like what your thought is on there being, because there's multiple prophecies. I like the notion that each prophecy reflects a different specific person. It kind of brings a new twist to things, because we're so used to seeing many prophecies or many different, um, or at least we're accustomed to this idea that all these prophecies are meant to be one single person. And I think it's kind of a nice new, at least a nice little twist towards that image we've kind of created for ourselves. That there are many different characters. Like one person's a prince that was promised, another person was the Zora High figure, and so on and so forth.
No doubt
Mhm.
about it. Because when you look at, let's just say, if you say the last hero, I mean, what his big story is that he had all his companions, and the companions died, then his dog died, and then he finally found the children. I mean, that's basically what Bran did, right? He was able to do that. And if you want to tie Sam into it, I mean, it would seem that he gave them what dragon steel is what they call it, right? That's what he got, and that's what he used to defeat the White Walkers back then. But dragon steel is Valyrian steel. It's the same shit, people. I'm telling you. All the Valyrians did was copyright that bitch and put their name on it. That's it. So I did. It's the same exact shit. I guarantee it. In the end, it's going to be the same thing when they show Valyrian steel, dragon steel. It's the same shit. The Valyrians just made it up and said, "We're going to trademark this shit and sell this shit for top dollar, boy." And that's it. That's how they blew up. And look what it did for them. While the children of the forest were stuck living in goddamn trees, like goddamn man, we the ones who invented this shit. We ain't getting paid off this motherfucker.
Mhm.
That's the way
Children, of
shit.
course, keep getting the butt end of everything. Can't win.
They do, because they're dirty.
They're not that dirty now. I think some of them are, and then some of them aren't. But
I
Uh,
yeah,
I still want to see an answer to that question, because I know, Tony, you're a strong believer in the fact that the children of the forest are these evil, deviant creatures. I hope
and
they
I
go with an
don't think they're
answer.
all evil.
See, I'm not. I'm more inclined to agree with you, T. I didn't get the impression they're necessarily evil. They're just kind of forced to try to. At least they were forced to try to defend themselves against humans trying to wipe them out. But I
Yeah,
don't know. We'll see. Maybe
he's
we'll get an answer
dirty.
about it.
He's dirty, little greenish. I mean, whatever you want to say from the book's description, little doe spotted non-Ewoks gremlins walking around. I done told y'all this from the jump. I told y'all this from the beginning. Lady D came at the dawn. Everyone came at the dawn. We seen it. But I was proven right, and when they created the White Walkers, right? I told y'all that they were dirty. I told y'all they were dirty from the jump, and they were dirty. And I'm saying they're still dirty. Now, if you want to say that they had the right to do it because they were up in there, they were defending themselves. The bottom line is this: they did this shit after they agreed to the pact. They shook
Okay.
hands, took the deal, and then went behind man's back, created the White Walkers, and then jumped off the long night, sat back, let that shit happen, and then when people were at their last breath, they came like the heroes. Oh, we'll show you how to defeat them. They didn't say they created them. They just said, we're going to show you how to defeat them so that they could be the heroes. Now they're at telling the truth because they're about to die. They have no choice. So like, we got to come clean about this. We can't control these things no more. We created them to kill you. We fucked up, but they're going to kill you too. So can you help us? That is what's going on with the damn children of the forest.
It's not that simple. It's not that simple because man was still killing children in the forest after the pact. In fact, it's somewhere where like once again I'm rusty, y'all, but it's in the world of Ice and Fire where they said it used to be a lake and then they call it the Red Lake. And I think it was a Stark or one of Greenhand's children. Like after they had all these abilities, you read certain stories and you're like, they were taking advantage of the children even after that pact.
I thought that was the Andals.
I'm not saying they weren't.
Them off. Because I remember the first men, the children had this like pact, this understanding of mutual, you know, like living in peace and harmony, all that good stuff. But when the Andals came, I thought they were the ones that really kind of forced the children either into hiding or killed them off because they were this, you know, weird species of beings that, of course, had nothing to do with their 7 gods. That was my understanding, anyway.
I would have to. I'll go with you on that. That the Andals had nothing to do with the actual pact that they signed, and so if you want to say that the children of the forest created the White Walkers to kill all the Andals, and they were just trying to take out the Andals with them, and this was going on. That you know.
Well,
no,
I mean, sorry.
I'm saying more as. You have children in the forest in this whole situation. You have some that are going to agree with this. They just want the fighting done and they just want to be left alone. And then you would have some who are like, we didn't even get a good deal on none of this. They're like pushed all the way back to the north. They were still being handled. Like some of them would be like, it's not working out. Let's handle them and create the White Walkers. And it overcame them. And then it became, oh, this is bigger than us, and now they're overtaking us as well. Like they perceive them as a threat as much as they perceive the humans.
I agree with what you're saying, that there's always going to be some people that don't want to go along with the plan. Even if you look at the Nazis, everyone gets labeled a Nazi, but I'm sure there were soldiers out there who did not want to be out there, but they were forced to be out there because if they didn't go out there, they would have got killed themselves. But yet they are still labeled as a Nazi. So I look at it like that. I think you could deal with the children. There are always going to be some children out there that did not want to go along with the plan. But these are their leaders. And when you have a democracy like it seemed like they had, that you have to fall in line with your leaders, and they did. So that's why they get what they get. And that's why they get cast under this same umbrella. And there's nothing that they could do about it. And that's it. And dealing with the first long night, from what I remember, from what I'm seeing, they were just about ready to let mankind die and then came out of hiding and then gave them the tools to kill them. They didn't come out of hiding and say, hey, we created the White Walkers. This is how you kill them. They just said, hey, this is how you kill them. It wasn't until updated now that Bran has figured out the story that they actually created. They didn't come clean about that, bitch. Until right now. So they must have thought they did something wrong, or they would have came clean with it right off the bat.
Well, they created them and it turned against them. So yeah, I get why they wouldn't want people to know.
Totally, I agree with you on there too. I just want to clarify one thing though, what you guys are saying, because we know that the Green Seers, at least historically, whatever, were the leaders of the Children of the Forest, because the original Green Seers were the ones who led the children. I'm almost wondering if, you know, obviously the humans and the Children of the Forest had their conflicts with, like, the first men and the children had conflicts. The Green Seers, looking into the future, see their people getting butchered by men. And now in these visions, we know that, or we can assume that the humans that they were seeing were the Andals killing off the children. So is it possible that the Green Seer, seeing that, just labeled or just assumed all men were the ones who were going to kill them off, and therefore kind of created the White Walkers to fight against the first men, not really realizing that the ones who were going to, be the catalyst of killing off the children would be the later Andal invasions of Westeros. That's kind of what I'm getting at. They kind of screwed up
Which
their
would
own
still
vision.
be considered man. So they would view him probably like that's the same thing.
Exactly.
Like
Yeah.
even though I made a pact with you, I made a pact with man, not in no divisions. Like they probably didn't know that.
You don't think
I
they would?
mean, I don't know. Maybe they're a little smart, but you don't think that the children of the forest, they just teamed up with the first men, that they could have conquered and beat the Andals?
I don't know.
I mean, you would think so. They had magic on their side and stuff, but the Andals also had greater, better weapons. I believe they also had horses. I don't think the first men had cavalry and things like that, as far as I
No,
remember.
I would think they would have had to
Did
have
they?
a horse. I don't think that the Andals. I don't know if horses were introduced by the Andals. I think that there were horses already over there. I would think that the biggest claim to fame, I would think that they would have been the steel weapons.
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah, definitely the weaponry.
that would be their biggest thing. But I'm still thinking that if you have someone that could take over somebody's mind, and not just one person who can do it, multiple people. You have people that can take over animals plus human beings. I would just think that you should have been able to knock this people back despite their weaponry, unless they had like airplanes and guns and shit. You know what I mean? But it's still swords. Sword's a sword. Whether it's a stronger sword, it's still a sword. You know what I mean? It's not like they came in there, the guys were fighting with swords, and all of a sudden these guys came over there with goddamn bazookas and AR-15s. It wasn't that big of an upgrade. They didn't upgrade like that. They just upgraded the material from it, and that's it. So I would think that the children of first, and if they were down with the first men like that, they wouldn't have had to go to the means to create the White Walkers. They could have said, hey, let's just team up. I see a threat along the horizon. The first men had already taken their gods and accepted their gods. So if they would have been like, yo, the gods are saying that there's a threat coming and we need to join forces to take down this threat, I think they would have been able to do that without creating the White Walkers. The fact that they did create the White Walkers shows that they were sneaky and they were dirty.
But isn't man also sneaky and dirty too? I mean, throughout this whole series, we've been seeing sneaky shit throughout the whole series. So
I also think we can't underestimate the point that men hate each other so much in the show, in the series. It's all about humans conflicting with each other, and we can't forget that the first men, they weren't like 7 kingdoms. It was many little, in certain regions anyway, there were many little separate mini kingdoms where people were fighting each other. I mean, the Vale of Arryn, there were so many tribes of first men, and it was pretty easy, it would seem, for the Andals to just come and just destroy them because there was no unified front against them. That was the impression I had when the Andal invasion happened.
Yes. You're correct in that, but I just don't think that it's a good enough reason for them to create the White Walkers.
Fair enough.
There's no reason that anyone could give me that the reason that really justified the children of first of creating the White Walkers behind the back of the first men after they signed the pact. And just for that reason, they were being sneaky, and the fact that they didn't come clean after the first long night, they only coming clean now because the White Walkers, I think, are after them. And that brings us to, what do we think that the White Walkers, the Night's King, what do they want? What do you think they are after in the show, Virgin Charlie?
The White Walkers now, what they're after? Like in
Yeah,
terms
but
of
the Night's King in the show, like he's got to have some type of motivation in the show. What do you think the Night's King, what's going on with him?
From what we're led to believe, and what I think they're just going to stick to, and T-Baby's kind of said this, is that they want the destruction of all humanity. For whatever reason, it's their mission to wipe out all living things from the earth, whether it's like a global warming type climate thing to protect nature, blah, 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 which I don't really think. I think it's more a case of humans to the White Walkers are intrinsically evil, whether it's because of their creation by the children or whether it's some other vision they saw. I think that's going to be the catalyst for them to pretty much end all human life and life in general in Westeros, at least.
All right, T baby.
I think it's on see all these men fighting each other all the time, and they're like, you know what, why don't we just take the whole thing over? Or it could be that they have some type of prophecy, just like everyone else has a prophecy about, you know, the princesses of promise and all this other stuff. They might have a prophecy of their own where they're supposed to take over, to whether it's to cleanse the world or whatever, or to reset it. It just seems like they possibly have a prophecy of their own that they're trying to fulfill.
Mhm.
Mm. Let me take this question right here from my man KP. He said, I had a big question since last week. Do the White Walkers have any level of free will? Is it possible for the White Walkers to switch sides and be on the side of the living? What do you think about that, T? Is it possible that the White Walkers can switch sides, or maybe switch sides and fight for the side of the living?
The only way I can see that is if they can get warped into. And I don't know if they can be warped. And that's the only way I can see them changing. But as far as having free will, I don't think they have it. I think they were just born into it. And instead of like how the whites are, where they die and they just rise up, but they were born into it. You don't know how they grow up, or if it's like an instant grown that they become grown men or something, or if they're a child and they're trained and all of that. So, but that, I don't know if they ever did have free will, to be honest.
Charlie, what do you think about that?
Honestly, it's a question I've been wondering for a long time, whether the White Walkers have free will. A lot of their actions would seem to indicate that they do have some sense of free will. I mean, look at how the White Walkers, not the Whites, that is. I mean, the White Walkers, for example, when they were traveling in season 2, and I was mentioning that in the comments just now, they saw Sam. They didn't really attack him. They knew Sam was there. They just didn't really bother with him. I'm assuming. At least it looked like they saw him anyway. And to me, if there wasn't some semblance of free will, I would think they would just kill off any human they encountered. Um, that's one of the reasons why. And also, they seem to be very well adapted to, for example, find a giant chain and drag a dead dragon out of a lake to revive it. Those are kind of the reasons why I would lean towards free will, but I don't know. I could see going either way. Definitely not the Whites. The Whites are just controlled by the White Walkers, though.
Yeah, I see. I mean, you got the guy when you have a dragon that's grounded right in front of you, but instead of going after that dragon, you shoot the dragon out of the sky that's flying above you. I mean, if you want to say that the reason why he did it was because he knew the dragon would then land inside the lake and then it would fall into the water, so that way it couldn't be set afire. And from that, he knew he would be able to drag it out of the lake and then resurrect it. If you want to go that big with it, right there. If you want to go that big with the whole situation, then we could go that big with it. I mean, if you want to go that route, I'm not sure if we could go that route. If I'm willing to do that, me personally, but hey, it's quite possible. We have a question right here, super chat from my man AU Pack Meal. Thank you so much. Why do the Royces use bronze ruins? I have the answer for that. What are you thinking about that, Charles? You have the answer for that? The bronze ruins of House Royce?
I almost want to say check out my videos on 5 crazy facts about House Royce. But
Yeah.
if I remember correctly, I don't think there's any deep reason to it. I think it had to do with the first men of his house believing that runes had magic properties. It was also the language, or the alphabet used by first men at the time, from what I recall. I made that video like a while ago, so I don't remember. But I think it was basically around that stuff. And as um, instances of Royce history have demonstrated, the runes don't really always protect the Royces from being killed, since a lot of them have worn rune inscribed armor and they get killed in battles all the time. Don't think there's
No,
anything more deep to it than that.
no, that well, we're dealing with House Royce. We know that their words are they remember, right? It's they remember, we remember, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you look at bronze, as bronze is, if you look at the element of bronze or whatever, bronze, it says that when you use bronze weaponry or bronze items in cold weather, it actually gets stronger. It gets stronger and it gets tougher. If you see like steel weapons in cold weather, they get more brittle. So I think it could be a reference dealing with the long night, that we remember that maybe you have to wear this special armor because it's better for protection against the cold than the newer stuff.
That's a cool thought, Tony. I never thought about it that way. I kind of thought more also in a way that matches the Andals, because bronze was the weapon. Bronze weapons was a weapon of choice of the first men, whereas Andals had steel. So I thought maybe it was kind of remembering their heritage in the face of the Andal invasion so long ago. You have a good point, though.
Thank you very much, sir. Lawrence Quarter asks, what if Bran walks into the Night's King and tries to stab himself? Suicide. I think that I think that what's going on is that I think if he gets stuck into the Night's King, he won't be able to do it. If that's the case, that's what's going on. That he doesn't have control of himself to do something like that. If you say that as the Night's King, he comes back and kills himself, is that what you're asking? Like that, like he's trying to get in contact? Because when we see the Night's King, right, and more evidence I think that points that Bran has got something to do with this Night's King, is that he's not trying to hurt Bran. I haven't seen him try to lay a hand on Bran. I've seen him hurt the people around Bran, but never Bran himself. When Bran is in that dream with the Night's King, he doesn't pull out his sword and try to kill him. We see the Night's King try to kill Bloodraven as soon as he sees him. But he doesn't try to do that with Bran. He just tries to hold him and grab him. So I don't see anything that points to the Night's King wanting to do damage to Bran. What do you think about that, Charlie?
Honestly, that's a can of worms I'm just really not sure about, because it also kind of begs the question as to what the first or the Night's King mission is. In the show, it almost seems like he's constantly chasing after Bran, and maybe there is something to it where the Night's King just wants to capture Bran, or the Bran is useful to the Night's King in some capacity. Personally, I'm leaning away from that theory. Honestly, I don't know. It's a good question. I really don't know what to think of that.
It definitely is. It's hard to see exactly what's going down. With the Night's King and Bran and everything else. It's a big topic and a big subject, but we have been going at this for a little while, and I do not want to make these videos too long because I do not want people to not watch it later on in life because it's too daunting of a task. And we've been over here almost an hour and a half right now and stuff. So we're going to say our outros. Please, it's the small council. T-Baby, let the people know where they can find you.
Hey, look, I promise y'all I'm going to get back into making videos. I just want to read the books over again. After reading it over, I see a lot of stuff I missed that I want to talk about. So look forward to it. Just don't put me on to saying like it's coming soon. But, I'm coming. Just don't worry about it.
And she'll be on the small council. She will on my channel too, doing our thing when we do that stuff. And definitely check out Lady Diligence's channel. Let's get her making videos again. She's a great YouTuber.
Yes.
She has a lot of great ideas. Even though she did try to come with the Don, it's all good, baby girl. I appreciate that.
You can't tame women. You can't tame us.
Can't tame. Charlie, we want to see that theory. And where can we find that theory when you make that video, Charlie?
We're talking about women and the White Walkers. You can find, hopefully, I will make that video soon because now there's a challenge I set up for myself. You can find that on my channel, Charlie in Westeros, youtube.com/Charlie in Westeros, if you need that link. And like T-Baby, I always say I'm going to make videos. It's been a while, but I'm going to try to get into it, especially with the next season coming out. However, I'm always down for doing live streams, whether it's with Tony, whether it's with the small council. So what I can promise will be more of that, I think. Right, Tony?
No doubt about it. We're always going to have live streams. If you know us with the small council, we have other members, and it's only better when they're around. And we're talking about James of Thrones. We're talking about a lot, LaDonna Sargent. We're talking about Claire Gray. We're talking about Maester Payne. We're talking about Nico, Lena, Tina Foyle. That's all of us up in there, and it's much better when we're all together. But if you get bits and pieces of us, it's just as good too. And
you had fun. You had fun.
Oh yeah.
Y'all all had fun today.
I
Damn
hope
it.
y'all had fun in the chat and everything else, you know. And this is how we do it. If you like the way I do this, please thumbs up this, please spread this across the realm, and please subscribe. And until next time, you know who it is. Peace and stay sexy.